All right, welcome everyone. We are here on this glorious day of February 23rd, 2024 to discuss everything that's been going on in the crypto world over the past week. It has been an up and down week overall, with mostly the discussions dominating around AI and big data projects. And the obvious question is, why is so much of the focus of the crypto community sort of switching over to projects that kind of have this denotion to them, that are in this sector and are kind of independent from the overall crypto sector? Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, many of the top caps are kind of sitting in neutral at the moment, while these other tokens have been thriving. And you can see very clearly, just looking at our weekly chart, we've got Filecoin up 38.5%, Render here up 40%, 47% for the graph. And then look at WorldCoin, that has essentially doubled in the past week in terms of its market cap. So there has been a lot of talk about these projects, and really two reasons for them being so large in excitement. For one, on Monday, Sora was officially released, and this caused a lot of hype, particularly for WorldCoin, which is a native token associated with Sora. So WorldCoin got off to a huge start, I believe pumped about 30% or so, and then eventually things kind of died out for a short while. Then NVIDIA, which is obviously a company associated with tech and graphics cards, and a company that is closely associated with big data in general and AI, it had an incredible quarterly report indicating that it had beat expectations. This caused a much bigger spike, and then we saw lots of different assets like Render, the graph, WorldCoin once again. What's the other asset that's on the tip of my tongue that did Ajax, Singularity Net, as its slug is known as. They started really pumping, and even at this time of this stream, continue to be moving in a very positive direction, while the rest of the markets are either neutral or even slipping slightly. So it is very exciting to see that a certain sector has been getting so much excitement. We even made a watch list for the top 100 assets related to AI and big data directly. But when we see something like this, when Bitcoin's actually down 2.5%, just remember that things can get a bit dicey, especially if you're seeing a lot of pumps from one specific sector, while the top cap that is keeping all of crypto afloat is starting to slide. So that, to me, is a minor concern. And I know we just had Maxim join, and I'd love to get your thoughts here, Max, on exactly what this hype train related to AI and big data has meant for the crypto sector at large right now.
Hi, Brian.
Hello.
It's a very good topic to bring into general conversation about where we are in the crypto market. Yeah. Why? I will jump directly to the core of decoding where we could be now. It's a well-known phenomenon when we go through the cycles in the crypto market, is that at some point of time after the crash, where everyone go into majors, Bitcoin and now also Ethereum, all alts are like dumped to the shit, or let's say to the dust. Okay, I should use proper word, to the dust. And then at the moment when we start recovering, going up, begin this cycle where they don't grow all together all the time. Yeah, they fall together. Yeah, and the alts fall much stronger than majors. But when they start growing, it's when you pay attention, it's always like changing. And we're in a specific phase. If you pay attention, Bitcoin is a kind of flat, for almost a week. It goes a bit up and down, and it's like nothing happens. Ethereum is a kind of flat, less like 3 days. It was the final phase of Ethereum growth, and you can see it already. Bitcoin entered sideways. Ethereum pushed, then entered sideways, and walked pick up. In this particular case, it was suddenly AI, and also decentralized kind of data storage, or the data, everything related to data, yeah? Or physical environment. This is a topic now. So it's already on a level below. It's a kind of on a level altcoins. It's not yet like meme coins. But if you have meme coins pumping like crazy everywhere around, then it's a final stage of the market. But we are now on a very ripe stage of the market, where the market focus on a narrative, and the narrative is AI and everything related to the data, which can potentially somehow, we don't know how, but doesn't matter, can be used for AI. So this sector is pumping quite nicely, and but nothing more, or let's say few projects more who did some good marketing, or I don't know, or everything around leverage staking for liquid Ethereum. Yeah, this also pumping everything around. It's another narrative, but it's focused to a few narratives. One AI, and this then for leverage staking of Ethereum, and basically that's it. So when we look into the whole market situation, okay, Bitcoin entered the sideways, Ethereum joins the sideways move. Now alts are pumping, but not all, which would be the sign of really massive, healthy and enjoyable bull market. Only few of them, only few narrative. Then we should ask us the question, what could it mean? And this is actually the main question I personally try to understand. And I think all of us, we need to understand, what does it mean when the strong push comes only to few narratives, yeah? And the majors are flat. This alone always, okay, most of the time comes in the tops. This alone most comes in the tops, unless everyone is talking about the top. Yeah, and I know that quite few people, notably people, were talking about the top. So it makes me a little bit cautious. Are we really on the top? Yeah, but we could be. No doubts, we could be, as the cycle is ripe. This is like a late cycle of advance. Majors is done, and now more risky assets pumping, but not all. Only few around specific narratives surrounding one. Yeah. And you started with, or we started to talk about this AI and a few other projects related to the data. And they indeed, I looked today in the chart, that looks very strong advancing. And we can look, if we have a time later on, into the details. Some of them look better than others. In some of them, I see clear divergences. Network growth, trading volume, social volume, anything, yeah, everything basically you see, or even supply distribution. You see retail is pouring in, and the bigger amounts dumping on them. Classic setup, it's a top, and some of them. Others are not. Others looks very strong here. So there will be redistribution of pump inside this group too. Now the question is, and we probably it's for us to observe for the next week, will this story spill over to other assets or other narrative? If it does, okay, this is a sign we're indeed in the middle of very big bull trend, and we will see, I don't know, double of Bitcoin, Ethereum in the nearest future. Might happen. But if we see no new narrative emerge for the next week, all assets who have pumped start staggering or like go into the flat or start declining. Maybe Bitcoin, Ethereum pump a little bit more or stay flat. This is quite a big red flag. And if meme coins are pumping, this is a huge, big red flag. So we have three options here. Option number one, we see, and it's a good one. I wish we have it here. Of course, I'm not against the bull market. It's just we need to see as clear as possible with our experience. Option number one, good one. Other assets, as a narrative, start pumping. Good liquidity moved in. It means we continue the party. Option number two, it doesn't happen if even price doesn't crash. Okay, it's mildly, but already not good. You know? Sometimes appearance of the new narrative might take 1 week or a bit longer. Okay, we can give it a bit longer time. But if we see the only thing which is now pumping is meme coins and upscored meme coins, and we see again huge gas fees on Ethereum network, wow, I think we need to close our positions here if this happens. So different options. And it's a general picture. And then, of course, we can look into details. As I said, many coins, they show different behavior. Of course, if Bitcoin, Ethereum will now turn down, no one will survive. Everything will go down eventually. But still, few coins even can survive in the beginning of, let's say, bear correction. Few coins, they did it in the past and can happen again. And I have my own favorites too. Which probably have, for me personally, higher chance to pay my attention to. But these three options will tell us the general story. Are we turning to down, yes or no?
Yeah, I agree with you, Maxim. I do think those three possibilities are really the only realistic ones we're going to see. And if we are going to see market caps kind of transition into another sector, I would imagine it would be one with some overlap to it, one that might be kind of a cousin, if you will, to the AI and big data hype that's going on right now. And the ones I've seen mentioned would be real world assets, which has generated a decent amount of hype over the past year or so, or just some general tech related types of crypto that might have some overlap with AI, but aren't necessarily directly related, like these four that I'm displaying right now. And I find it interesting as we look at Bitcoin's price here charted over the past 3 months or so, this big spike for WorldCoin that happened on Monday. This was when Sora was first released and the initial hype train about AI really started to get rolling. This was actually kind of the market top, and right when Bitcoin hit its peak. And I do find that interesting. I wouldn't go as far as to say that AI tokens are the same as something like meme coins, where they're kind of a detriment to the market and too much hype is being taken away, or I should say market cap is being taken away. But you do have to remember that there is a finite amount of market cap overall in crypto. And yes, there is a little bit of a boost from outside crypto investors who are first getting into crypto and deciding, I want to buy a bunch of WorldCoin. Sure, that's happening. But to a larger extent, my belief is there is some market cap being taken away from Bitcoin in order to boost these altcoins. And I think there's a bit of forgetfulness from the crowd when it comes to this fact. When you see a certain sector pump, there's generally a little bit being taken away from those large caps that are keeping the overall crypto sector propped up. And we do have to approach this with caution and still be able to have a good enough sense of confidence and security that crypto is in a safe and healthy place. And we all know that Bitcoin has pumped something like 65 to 70% or so in the past 4 months. Which does put it at risk of a bit of a retrace that could certainly continue. And we will look at the health of Bitcoin throughout this call, but I want us to keep that in mind. And before we do, of course, while we're here, take a look at just how much hype all four of these assets have generated from the various social platforms that Santiment scrapes data from. Agix, of course, is one of the largest pumpers, almost 3xing in the past week or so. WorldCoin, as we mentioned, 2x'd in the past week. Fetch AI, not quite as much discussion. It's a little more under the radar, but I would keep an eye on this one too. It does have a healthy amount of development and has had a good week overall. And then Render, which has just been a consistent pumper in terms of its price for a long time. If I switch over to Render's price, look at how Render, even before this AI hype started, was really just surging going back to late January, just about a month ago. So remember that you can check these out and even compare them to one another for some good insights. You can see on Reddit especially, and Twitter, yeah, they've really gotten a lot of generated hype on these two platforms. All right, so besides that, I do want to mention the fact that we do have an AI and big data watch list that was made a couple of days ago. And you can actually take a look at various statistics related to them. You can put on infographics related to them and see just specifically, what the AI and big data projects have been doing as of late. If I go to the last week, yeah, this looks a little bit different than the overall picture for crypto if I switch to 1 week there. So look at how, just eyeballing it, roughly 2/3 of the market caps in the top 100 top 100 for crypto are down market cap in the past week, whereas AI, what we'd call this maybe 80 to 85% of them are up, and not just up, but up big. These are like huge numbers in terms of market cap growth for any asset that is remotely related to AI and big data. So I really recommend heading over to the screener page, filtering by AI, and you'll find some very quick insights related to them. Just as a reminder, you can click on filter here, go to the drop down where it says all assets, and you can select from any of these options, or you can of course make your own watch list too. For me, I just go to my watch lists by going down to my account settings there in the avatar, and you'll see them all right here. And you can of course just list them if you want, or you can kind of contrast and compare. Lots of different things you can do. I love just this overall dashboard where you can see the differences in the total cap over time, where AI and big data up about 20%, which is by far the best performer of these bunch right now. All right, with that said, I want to also look at some of the recent posts that we put out. This is something I'm trying to do more and more on our This Week in Crypto streams, to give extra context as to why we released those pieces of news. So for one, the amount of Bitcoin whale wallets holding at least 1,000 Bitcoin is growing at the fastest rate since February of 2022. That's a pretty big deal, folks. I think that a lot of this has to do with the new landscape that we're in after the ETFs were, of course, approved back on January 10th. And after the dust initially settled and a couple weeks went by, that's when we started to see this blue line, which improved by about 7.5% in terms of the overall amount of wallets holding 1,000 or more Bitcoin. Now, as this surge is happening, the smaller wallets, especially the any Bitcoin wallet that is sized under 1, they have been dropping actually quite rapidly. 509,000 wallets that had tokens no longer have tokens that are classified as less than 1 Bitcoin. So I think in general, a certain amount of wallets are being liquidated into these big wallets. Likely many are exchanges, but not all of them. And it's kind of changed the way things look, in my opinion, and something we should keep an eye on. I still would keep an eye on the actual percentage held by these different tiers, but the actual amount of the wallets is still very interesting and showing that the whales and the sharks are continuing to earn, or I should say hold, more and more of the overall supply of Bitcoin over time. Another big post, you can see, as mentioned, AGIX was absolutely surging in terms of a few different metrics all at once. This was just yesterday. The whale transaction count for any transactions valued over $1 million, highest in over a year. Transaction volume in USD, highest in over a year. Social dominance was like the highest in 2 years. And also the total amount of holders. You can see over the past week, it's really started to push higher and higher, which, by the way, you would think that these are all bullish. I actually would disagree and say that they're often associated with tops. This doesn't mean overall AI crypto tokens are about to top off or anything, but AGIX in particular is starting to show signs of overheating, especially when you see the total amount of holders, really just take off like this. It's a sign of FOMO, a sign of a lot of new addresses and novice traders who don't know much about crypto or even the project, who are getting in simply because they're seeing this pump and they're going, oh, I want in on this. So that's something to keep in mind. We'll be following up more on AGIX throughout the week, of course. We talked about NVIDIA. This was just yesterday. The amount of mentions related to NVIDIA and their earnings report, they were scattered all over the top 10. In blue here, by the way, is something a little more nuanced related to Frax shares and the proposal related to swapping tokens. But NVIDIA was a big mainstay in social discussions over the past couple of days. Also Ethereum, something to keep in mind. We see 3 big social spikes on this chart that have happened over the past 3-ish days or so. First was Ethereum first going above 3,000 for the first time in about 2 years. You can see right when the celebration happened, big top, and prices retrace. Not a huge retrace. This was, the low 2,900s or so. Then it rebounds, goes above 3,000 again. This was actually its biggest spike. And right when the crowd started to celebrate, when it went above $3,031, big euphoric spike. Everyone's talking about buy Ethereum, buying Ethereum, and then we have buy ETH, buying ETH also. This combination of euphoric posting helped kind of create a self-fulfilling prophecy, and Ethereum retraces once again. Then it finally rebounds just slightly. People start to get optimistic, and another drop. Now, Ethereum is now making another run, and crypto's having a decent day so far, but I would still keep an eye on the chart associated with this post. I think it's a really cool way to look at the FOMO and positivity and how it's often causing tops anytime Ethereum is starting to generate some traction. Also, the amount of holders I find interesting. Overall, I mean, it's sort of related to what we looked at for the whale, shark, and fish tiers. When you see the green line going down, this is a sign that a lot of those small traders are liquidating their wallets, likely due to more interest in more speculative assets like AI and big data tokens, but also, of course, getting into the exposure of ETFs instead. And I'm going to do a quick update on the Bitcoin ETF dashboard right now. We talked about how we just saw massive all-time highs in terms of volume and overall inflows related to the ETFs a few days ago. This was toward the beginning of the week. But let's take a live look and see just how the volume and inflows are looking right now. So I'm just going to refresh these charts really quick. And we should see that things have kind of calmed down ever since that post. Still getting plenty of volume. And take a look at BitB, interestingly. Huge outflow all of a sudden. That's interesting to see. It looks like it's an anomaly, though. That's the only one. Okay, so overall volume. I would ignore this. I think we need probably a little more time to elapse before we see the true volume candle. But you can see this was the all-time high, 4.5 billion in volume. This was on Monday, or I should say Tuesday, because markets were closed on Monday due to President's Day here in the US. I think that contributed a little bit. So we kind of had two individual days combined into one in terms of volume, and that helped boost this to the highest day ever. And then it dropped off, but not that much, right? This was still one of the largest days, 2.7 billion in USD volume. And then it kind of neutralized back here on the 21st. So nothing too crazy anymore, other than this big anomaly spike on Tuesday. If we look at some individuals, GBTC, which was the original ETF that's been around since 2015, it's continuing to see outflow as the other new ETFs are kind of poaching from this ETF and getting new volume of their own, of course, and inflows. So its volume overall is continuing to drop as the more appealing and new ETFs are gaining traction. IBIT still doing quite well. FBTC doing quite well. BitB is the one that really dropped off. I'm curious as to what's going on. If any of you in the chat know why BitB suddenly had this massive inflow, I'd be very interested in finding out. HODL had this huge volume spike on the 19th. This was the big overall volume spike, but its inflow has been pretty consistent. And then volume for ARCB and BTCO have calmed down themselves. So that's just a quick recap. It looks like over the last few days it's back to normal, but I'd continue to keep an eye on it because overall the volume is an important aspect to measure when it comes to making sure that these ETFs are contributing to the overall ecosystem of crypto. Okay, so moving on to Bitcoin's health now. We're about halfway through our call, and I'd like to take a look at just the on-chain and social and other various aspects of Bitcoin to see just the state of the markets overall. Let's zoom into just the last 3 months. So beginning with transaction volume, it looks like nothing too special is going on. I'm not surprised considering people are talking about BTC a bit less over the past week compared to previous weeks. It's fading out, especially after the local tops were hitting on the 15th, and then on the 20th, this was again right when that WorldCoin spike hit. So not too special there. Daily active addresses also fading. This is something we talked about earlier this week internally. We're really keeping an eye on a trend like this where active addresses are going down, but the price, or at least the trend over the past month, is still like that, even though, as I accidentally dragged the mouse. So there we go. So price is still moving up, address activity is moving down. That's concerning. I still believe that we need to see climbing active addresses over time in order to justify higher and higher prices. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to correct. We could stay in neutral for a while, but without some proper rising address activity, it's tough to envision a quick, continued surge all the way up to 60K and beyond. But of course, we need more context. So let's take a look at the 30-day MVRV and the 365-day MVRV. On the shorter one, average traders are up about 6% at this time. Generally around 15% is where you start to see that danger zone, which will be about, give or take, right right about there. So we're not quite in a spot where we would see a huge retrace, but remember that any MVRV over 0% means there is going to be slightly more risk than average based on history in terms of adding onto your position or opening a new position. Meanwhile, the 365-day, this one's a lot more concerning. So long-term traders are up about 40%. Any address that has interacted on the BTC network, when you blend all of their average returns together, they're up about 40% over time. That's pretty massive still, and something we need to be concerned about, because over time that MVRV is going to hover around 0, just like all of the time frames. You can see it's spent about an equal amount of time being below and above 0%, and right now we're quite high, not quite at the level we saw in September 2021 where we were at like plus 53%, but you can see what happens when we do get well above 40 right here. It's happened 2 or 3 or 4 other times. The last one actually was in late November when we had that early December retrace, and then we had this October 2021 huge retrace, or this was actually the all-time high in early November. We had the big retrace in April of that same year, and then going back to the 2019 retrace when we were starting to rally again, and then everyone got disappointed, which kind of lasted all the way until Black Thursday when COVID hit the mainstream. So MVRV does look concerning, especially on the long term. In terms of funding rate, let's see how greedy people are right now. I'm going to zoom way in once again. Let's just go to the last month. And there is a bit of greed showing. The last time we saw a high ratio of longs versus shorts was just yesterday. And you can see when most of these big spikes happen, when they're bright green, that's when we start to see a little bit of correction going on. On the other end of the spectrum, when you see a lot of shorting like this, that's when it's usually a more opportune time to buy in at low risk, while these shorts end up getting liquidated and adding rocket fuel to the prices, helping them move upward. So it's neutral for now, but note that over the past week, the tendency has been for people to long, and those longs are proceeding to get liquidated and causing prices to retrace. Whale transactions, nothing too special here. The peak whale transactions really happened about 8 to 10 days ago when we had these big spikes here, but they've calmed down for now. We'll take a quick look at the whale tiers, but since we already talked about it with that post, I won't take too much time. Mean dollar invested age is an important topic. Let's look at the last year. So take a look at right around late October, mid to late October, right when the rally was starting. So right about here when the price was just under 30K, we suddenly see the mean dollar invested age move down. And this is something I'd love your opinion on too, Maxim, because it's a great long-term metric overall and something we value highly. The mean dollar invested age has certainly dipped in the last 4 months, just about exactly 4 months.
Yeah.
And it's gone from 639 days down to 598 days. What do you make of the fact that it's still moving down, even as we're kind of hovering in this 50 to 52K range?
Well, this is a part which make current call so complicated. This metric alone suggests we're in a bull market. Or let's say, okay, a redistribution phase, which is normally part of a bull market because there are enough people believe in, okay, I need to take profits now. I don't think market can go much higher. So those previous holders give in to new ones. This is how we always perceive the metric, which is supposed to be maybe the best for this long-term cycles. The moment you see mean dollar stage going down, okay, this is actually cool. And then you know, okay, I have at least 6 months to look for exit points. Okay, so this is the one which makes so-called so difficult. Other things, we don't like all these divergences, all these market calls for I don't know, 100,000. I don't know, I see even ridiculous 10 millions, whatever the call for Bitcoin. This we don't like at all. So based on social sentiment, we say, okay, we need to go down. Based on this metric, we need to go up. It's very conflicting. Now, there was one time in 2020, in COVID time, actually, we also started kind of redistributing. Actually, if you move your slider to 2020, you will see what I'm moving, what I'm saying. Not like maybe middle or end of 19, and then you will see what's happened at 20.
Right
No,
before.
No, before. This was the real top. Yeah, exactly here. So we saw it. Yeah. And then you reduce the scale so that you see, let's say, 1 year. Not now everything, but only 1 year. Yeah, exactly like here. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So you see what happened? We started to wait. I think you took already 17. Oh no, 19. Okay.
This is February 2019 to about September 2020.
Yeah. So what happened at that time? The market started to grow, and we saw redistribution. Yeah, and redistribution continued for quite some time till I don't see exactly. I know July. Yeah, kind of July, August of 19. And then it reversed. Yeah, so market keeps sliding down, and people start accumulating again. So general approach is when you accumulate, so they believe, okay, now cool, we see recent market increase, so it will increase. And typically, let's say, from behavior point of view, when you see such behavior, you should be very cautious. And then we had this COVID, I don't know, black swan, not black swan, but metrics were showing were not in the safe zone. So the question now, will we repeat the story? Well, we can wait. Because the story kind of repeats the moment you start see sideways or going down. In this case, it was also sideways for some time, and they start going down, and people start accumulating again. So if we see this behavior, wow, then we probably need to run very fast. For the moment, yeah, we can keep risk. Okay, maybe it can still increase a little bit, or can go down to scare us even more and then increase. As long as mean dollar investment age keep going down, probably it's better to have exposure, because there is some kind of redistribution going on, and as long as you have it, market has power. The moment there is no redistribution, everyone starts accumulating. On average, there is accumulation again. You should run after redistribution, because there's accumulation happens when everyone, like really everyone, convinced, okay, I need now either to keep or to buy more, or to keep accumulating, to keep accumulating. And if okay, not everyone, majority is accumulating because they expect high prices, this is really not good. So this is a light in the darkness for the moment, By the way, can you switch to Ethereum? I remember in Ethereum it was in Ethereum it's a bit different. It's never so clear slide down in mean dollars. It's mostly like stay flat, starts staying flat for some time. Yeah, this is what we see. So it's also a good sign. It's, I think in 2021 was the same. It was a kind of going down, little bit up, down, and then it's like flipped, and people started. They will start taking profits at some point of time. It's like inevitable. And for Ethereum, this behavior is more typical. Yeah, so it's also a good sign. I'm
curious, Maxim, what do you make of these sudden drops that altcoins see sometimes with a huge H-consumed spike like this? Is this mostly just a reflection of a few very large whales that aren't really reflective of a long-term bull cycle?
Yeah, can be a few reasons. Need to compare also with transaction volume. Is it outstanding? Then yes, it was very big move. Sometimes it's just very old coins. We have it in Ethereum. Sometimes even from ICO time of Ethereum. When was it? 15, 40, maybe even 14. No, I think it was even 14. So if so altcoin moves, okay, yeah, transaction volume big. Yeah, looks big, yeah. Looks big, yeah. Yeah. So it's could be in the case sometimes exchanges do something, they change wallets.
Mm-hmm.
Then this kind of big spike might happen. Even though you will ask yourself, why do they do it at this specific point of time? Yeah. Most of the time they feel insecure, or there are some level of worries in the market, or even panic. So they think, okay, better be sure. Let's rotate for our security purposes.
Or it could even be staking related when it comes to Ethereum. You never know.
Staking related.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? I was just last week. I'm sure you have too. I have my own chart layout for Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
Plenty of metrics, maybe 10. I don't know. Plenty of metrics. Starting from Ethereum networks and on major lending protocols. Is it depth growing or falling, and where is it going? Oh, like complex one. And then I was bothering me, not bothering, but like it's not informative. All addresses, balances are declining. Doesn't matter, small, middle, big, everything declines. Only, of course, staking address, especially liquid staking from Lido, keep growing like ballooning, yeah, over time. But when you change from Ethereum to wrapped ETH or wrapped staked ETH or rocket pool ETH, you see much better. Then you see who is in these liquid tokens, who is accumulating, small players, big players. It's very interesting. I suggest we spend maybe next week more time in our team calls. I didn't share it yet, but I saw there's something which really demand our more attention. And I don't think many people are talking about who is actually joining or exiting this liquid staking narrative. Yeah? Is it small or big players? I think this could reveal us the story. Yeah? Is it now like retails jumping in, or have been then doing for some time? It's very important. Are whales still there, or did they move out? And if they moved out, maybe they planning to realize profit. I don't think this is the case, but I just explain the way of thinking when you look into the data. Because if retail massively jump into whatever narrative is, then this is the end. Yeah, okay, it's the beginning of the end. Because retail, I mean, like a really small one, with small holding, they usually don't have much time to research, you just jump in, and it comes close to the top. So we can look into staked Ethereum in all these different forms. There are not so many. With sizable capitalizations, there are only 3. It will be an interesting exercise, yeah.
I'm just curious if staked Ethereum is looking particularly different. We saw big on-chain activity at the beginning of February.
And now go to supply distribution. There is more life.
The mean dollar invested age is much different. It's just constantly moving down. A lot of realized profits, supply and exchanges moving way down.
As a matter of fact, I think here, this network realized profits actually could make sense. I generally suspicious for Ethereum because Ethereum has so many use cases, and it's really. But once you see here, it's a kind of, you can say so. It's if someone move staked Ethereum on this big scale, probably someone realizing profits indeed. And now when you look into the price, actually, that was a very cool signal. Now when I'm looking to it, I didn't look into this specific metric. Because you see the price was touching 2.5, 2.6. And then going down, and the moment it went shortly before the last stop, someone said, okay, I feel nervous, or I don't know, it's actually maybe a good profit I did in this whatever months, 3, 6, 12. They moved staked Ethereum It's a lighter stack Ethereum, yeah, which generated or accumulated so much profit. It's a good. And the moment you see it on a growing market after some quite good decline, I would say this, which was like 1 week or how much long, and then someone move big coins in the profits. It's a good buy signal. Whoever listening to this report, yeah, I do believe all listener stream this behavior of holders for staked Ethereum is still hidden alpha. I don't think many people look into this metrics on staked Ethereum.
Yeah, I admittedly don't look at it enough, and I would
I
like
did
to.
not either. Just started to do it like 2 weeks ago. I say, wait a
Yeah.
second. We have all the data, yeah. And then I said, let's look into it.
Do you do the same with wrapped BTC, Max, for Bitcoin analysis?
No. Actually, a good point. We could do it too, because
Yeah.
wrapped BTC is the way it's used. You deploy it in different liquidity pools, I guess, or you bring it in as collateral to lending protocols, and then you start using it for what? Okay, of course you earn a little bit as a yield, but it's not much. You start using it as a collateral to take risk. So as long as it's increasing, probably not moving, it's a sign of confidence. Yeah, it can be used. Indeed, can be used. Need to look into it. I didn't look into it.
Yeah. One thing about Santiment, there's always more to learn. You know, even us here at
Yes.
Santiment, you know, I am no expert at so many different topics.
It's a vast ocean of how you can. There are some basics which we do almost on daily or weekly basis, and sometimes things become routine or pattern, and then you need to make an effort to say, okay, I need to look from different angle. So what we're doing now.
Yeah. But when it comes to mainstays like MVRV, which I'm loading the template for now, and you know, other big key metrics like whales and sharks, we'll always keep you guys updated on those. But when you see a write-up about staked Ethereum or wrapped Bitcoin or something a bit more niche, we're often kind of making new explorations and discoveries on our own that we're going to share with you. So when it comes to us having information related to the markets, when we find new stuff, you'll be the first to know if you're checking our insights page as to what we're finding out there. So definitely stay tuned for more, especially when it comes to this AI and big data craze that's going on right now. We definitely will identify whether we're starting to see some big top signals come in, things like that.
Yeah.
And it appears that the MVRV model, by the way, is more or less loaded now. And as expected, I'm seeing it pretty sprinkled in with a lot of semi-overbought and overbought signals. And Maxon, this is the midterm specifically. So we're only looking at the 30-day, 60-day, and 90-day, I believe. Or I should say, skipping the 60. So 30, 90, and 180 are the three that are blended together.
Yeah, the thing I would use it because it's a very good. It's a like signal. I would use this your metrics as a signal. Okay, there is something, and especially if you hold these assets, then you need to load at our chart layouts and you start looking. Do I see obvious, clear, easily recognized divergences? Yeah, network activity, network growth. If you see them, say, "Oh wow, now it's getting really warm," or maybe uncomfortably warm if you hold a lot of it. Then you drill deeper. How are the key stakeholders behaving? Yeah, how are the small holders? Are they in? Oh gosh, yeah. Or if not, okay, maybe you still can play with warm, but the signal is raised. This is the time you pay attention. Yeah. I would never use it as a only metric alone. And as a matter of fact, I think I've never used only one metric. It's always a combination of things. But as a signaling, it's a very beautiful one, because if you really want to say, okay, 25, 30 metrics we should pay attention to, dear Santiment, thank you, you did a good job, but what do I use as a signal? This can be used as a signal. Yeah. When MVRV reach some level, it's more often than not, the top is somewhere near. People will take profits, no one in the crypto They say we hold it, but they don't really hold it. At the moment, things turn around.
Mm-hmm. And by the way, we do have that video of just what Maxim alluded to, where you can look at a breakdown of Santiment's top 15 metrics. It was recorded about a year ago. It's one of our most popular videos. I think the most popular video, actually. So if you're learning about Santiment and want to quickly find some of the best metrics for alpha, I highly recommend it. I'll even paste this link for Baresh if you wouldn't mind putting it in our live stream really quickly, because I think a lot of people don't fully know about it when they first jump onto Santiment, and it's just so valuable when it comes to getting some quick education. All right, so dropping this for you here, Baresh, and then perhaps you can read us a few of the requests or just any questions that Maxim and I can help give some clarity to.
We do have an early asset request, which we have the full data for, I think, which is Litecoin.
Of course, yeah. We have not.
By the way, Max, did we fix? There was some issue with Litecoin metrics. I remember we were fixing them earlier this week. I think some of metrics were outdated. Well, anyway, we will see it now. Yeah. Just to make sure that we have the latest data.
Yeah, hopefully it is up to date. It should be fairly obvious if the metrics are still off. But I'll kind of go down the list and we'll explore one by one. So Litecoin has been lagging behind most of the other price performances pretty consistently, going back all the way, honestly, since its own halving, which happened, I want to say in early mid-July, if anyone in the chat can correct me on that. But I remember this sudden pump that happened going into that halving as people were getting excited. And then when the actual halving happened, somewhere around here, we were starting to see some really disappointing results, and it actually dropped off completely here in mid-August, as a lot of other assets in crypto did. But since then, there really hasn't been much of a recovery. Prices have gone up since that big drop. They're very slightly, oh no, I take it back actually. I got to be more precise, sorry. So yeah, up maybe 5-6% since that drop happened. But since the top happened in July, very early July, its price is down 39.5%, which obviously is a major underperformer compared to Bitcoin, Ethereum, and obviously the huge gainers like AI and big data. But there is still a contingency of people who are strong believers in Litecoin's viability and ability to get back above $100 again soon and beyond. When it comes to transaction volume, really nothing special going on there at all. If we look at address activity, we saw a whole bunch. I find this very fascinating that we had this huge jump in unique addresses from about early December till late January, and then it just dropped off a cliff again. Arguably still a lot better than it was when it was really low, but the trend line is showing that we're getting an average of about maybe 360,000 Litecoin addresses interacting on the network per day. At its peak, right up here, it went all the way up to 1.43 million on some specific days. Circulation outside of this big spike on February 10th, which didn't seem to amount much when it came to price, it's been pretty neutral. Now, MVRV probably would give us a much better picture in terms of direct price action and what we can expect next. They're moving two different directions, and maybe this is where we're off. I don't know how confident I'd feel about this, but MVRV is showing 12.3%. I'm not sure why average traders would be up 12% considering prices are staggering and not really doing much. So we're going to ignore MVRV. I don't feel confident in this, and I'm sorry for showing anything that could potentially be unreliable. It's very rare, but Maxim correctly pointed out that there was some specific issues with Litecoin that we're still trying to address. I would be pretty confident that the funding rate is correct, however, and we're seeing some major longs going on. Perhaps a lot of other people are picking up on the fact that Litecoin has underperformed so heavily compared to the rest of the markets, and as a result, they're trying to buy low on it because comparatively, Litecoin's price is quite low compared to the average altcoin. Even though it's still the 22nd largest market cap asset, it's been sliding down over the past 6 months to 12 months. So lots of longing actually is a concern that Litecoin still has a way to go before it starts to play catch up. When you see the crowd, not all, but a large contingency of the crowd expecting for Litecoin to catch up, that means that more time needs to pass until they start to short or start to ignore Litecoin again. But it appears that a lot of people are salivating for a big run up because Litecoin has been struggling so much. Whale transactions, pretty much normal, nothing special happening here. Now let's look at the tiers for a moment. Litecoin's price is sitting at about $68. So when it comes to sharks, they're going to start around the 10K to 100K level and probably 100K to a million. Then we go straight to 1 million to 10 million. So this is pretty much just the largest addresses out there because, yeah, nothing beyond 10 million. So in terms of number, slight growth on the 100K to a million, but really not much overall. If we merge the three together, it's pretty flat, if not slightly down over the past 6-7 weeks or so. And then we can also look at just the supply held. So the three largest tiers, okay, that does look a little better. So we did get a big run up beginning in late January. Just about 4 weeks ago, it started to surge where they went from holding 62.5% up to a little over 64%. That's not bad at all. And there has been some signs of alpha in terms of Litecoin's price related to the 10K to 10 million coin holder. So I would argue that this is a bit of a bullish divergence here, seeing this line move up so rapidly. If I can get it to stick. Yeah, so that's moving up rapidly while price is mostly just maybe very slightly edging up because the markets have been edging up, but nothing else. So maybe the most positive sign of all the metrics we've looked at would be this tier breakdown right there.
Yeah, no, but usually this tier can move the market here.
Yeah, so I'd keep an eye on this one. This is a little more optimistic. I still think we need to wait until the funding rate settles down because that is, I don't think that would be impacted by some of the on-chain issues we've seen with Litecoin, and that's very likely accurate in showing, especially on BitMEX. That's where a lot of this longing is going on, and it's arguably at its highest amount of longing in over a year right now. And that's probably good enough for Litecoin. Thanks again for that request, whoever asked it. I think it's a great idea to dive back into Litecoin when it's been so under the radar for so long. And Balresh, maybe we have time. Go ahead.
By the way, Brian, as a matter of fact, as we were running the stream, the thing happens that Uniswap dropped the bomb. They say that they will start redistributing fees to the Uni hodlers. For the token hodlers, not clear yet how exactly. Probably you will have to stake and do some specific work only for those who provide liquidity. I don't know details, but you can see what happened to Uniswap price. It jumped, yeah, and looks like it's not only Uni now. From what I saw, also Compound and Curve, which are on my screen, so also trying to break. Exactly. Yeah. And you remember where we started this talk today. So if it's located only on one or two narrative, as a matter of fact, it's mostly one narrative, AI and data around, it's very weak. Now, the DeFi is picking up. So we need to watch closely. It's Friday. Okay, Saturday, Sunday is enough in crypto space. Is enough to understand the trend, if it's survivable or not, and see how much attention now this narrative will get. We can get it as social dominance or percentage of talks around it.
Mm-hmm.
So it looks better. It looks better, but depends how the topic develops.
Yeah, you might have called your shot here, Maxim. And while this call was going on, we saw a bit of a transfer in crowd interest from AI to potentially DeFi, and that's where this next week is heading. It's like that meme where the guy is looking ahead with his girlfriend, which is AI, and now he's looking back and seeing the DeFi sector.
DeFi, yes, yeah.
Yeah, so I think this is very fascinating, and it's happening as we're finishing this stream here. We can see the transaction volume spike just exploding. Daily active addresses, huge.
Yeah, by the way, can we look into, yes, of course now all metrics will just skyrocket. I want to see if there was some kind of insider trading. Go to supply distribution and let's see if there is any big wallets who accumulated before the pump. Just curious.
Good idea. So balance of addresses. Let's take a look at the price too. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll put this in
small addresses unlikely. We need to start looking. Well, it was like $6-7. Let's say 1,000, 10,000. Anything above 10,000 of coins. Is there anyone?
It doesn't appear so. Yeah, it's all pretty tame.
Well, the only one, this red one, I don't know which.
That's 10K to 100K.
Okay, there've been a kind of a little bit, and also yellow one.
That's 100K to a million. Yeah. So these are kind of the beginning of, or the large sharks.
And where's the price? Did you put the price on top of it? Because I don't see the price.
Put it back. Went away.
Even though it's it's no need. Because the price was flat for a long time.
Right.
Okay.
So red line, it was going up a bit.
So they pushed the kind of they pushed the last price move before this one, yeah, and yellow one.
Both the red and the yellow. So red was going up as Uniswap was growing, as was the yellow, and the others were kind of flat. So you're right about that.
Okay. Well, it doesn't look like insider trading, but looks like they just committed.
Yeah, there was some confidence there. I'm curious if there were any top transactions too. That could be interesting. So the key would be, in the past 48 hours or something, have there been any huge transactions? It looks like most of them happened around February 13th and 14th, but I do see 3 big transactions that happened yesterday. No, take that back, 4. So we had a couple million Uniswap transactions from a whale. It looks like it might have been correlated with the same transaction, just moved to 2 different addresses, but it went to Binance initially, and then there was a whale to an unknown address here. And then we saw a decentralized exchange whale drop about 1.2 million into a decentralized address, and then another one to a whale address here. So there have been 4 big ones that happened in the past 24 hours or so, Maxim, that I wouldn't be surprised were related to them.
Okay.
To their knowledge.
Just curious observation, yeah.
Right. That's interesting. And then you mentioned Compound and Curve too, having similar announcements. We can see Compound just jumping. It looks like with
probably
each of these,
it's I'm not sure. Is there any liquidity pools directly for Compound against Uniswap? Yeah, no, probably just no. Okay, yeah, compound to go. I assume Aave too. I just don't have it so close on my.
Yeah, Aave did make
screens.
a big pump. I'm just checking my other chart really quick. Everything's dropping, by the way, right now because Bitcoin
Of course.
is
Now
back
it's
below 51K.
Now it's a time to make those money.
Right. So that's the thing. When you see so much market cap going into non-Bitcoin sectors and there's so much FOMO toward them, it's going to come away from Bitcoin's market cap. This isn't just new money coming from fiat and bank accounts. This is mostly people going out of Bitcoin and into the most attractive assets that are pumping from FOMOers, and that's going to put Bitcoin at risk of some temporary collapses. I remember way back when I was first
and Ethereum as well.
Ethereum also. But I remember in 2017, my first year kind of understanding crypto, Bitcoin Cash was a big thing. And I remember seeing Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin inverse to one another because the market cap was so sensitive back then. And when people were moving into BCH instead of BTC, the entire market cap would suddenly collapse until BCH traders would settle down. And then Bitcoin would recover. And then people would go into BCH again and everything would collapse. And I think crypto is much bigger now and the landscape is much different. But in a small scale, there could be a similar phenomenon where if people get too excited about AI and too excited about DeFi, it compromises the entire crypto sector temporarily. So I think these two sectors are very exciting and can and should continue to grow. But just remember that the way market caps grow is usually organically over time. And if it's all of a sudden, these big 20% jumps in a few days for the entire AI or entire DeFi sectors, that can be a bit of a red flag. It's just something to keep in mind. All right, Max, anything else that is on your mind that you want to cover before we say adios to our wonderful viewers today? Max may have stepped away. Well, I think we've covered a substantial amount here. I appreciate the dedication to watching our streams live for those of you who are in here. For the majority of you watching on replay, we appreciate your commitment to our channel and your continued support. It means a lot to continue to hit that thumbs up, even if it feels routine and a waste of time. Like, each of those thumbs ups actually make a massive difference to our ability to reach a new audience and get our charts in front of more people and continue to make these kinds of high quality indicators and streams about those indicators for you. So thank you all. Enjoy your weekends as always. Stay warm and safe. And here's to a good final stretch here in February as we inch to about the 6-week mark, maybe 7-week mark for the Bitcoin halving coming up in mid-April. So until next time, guys, on behalf of Maxim and Baresh, who did a great job as always running the stream, take care, and we'll talk to you next week.
Talk to you next week, yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks as always. Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.